Hi folks, welcome to Lecture 5. In this set of videos, we're going to start to build upon some of the knowledge we've gained from the t-test samples, and now we're going to look at what happens when we're exploring at least 3 or more means in a sample. So different from the independent groups t-test and the paired sample t-test and the one sample t-test, when we talk about ANOVA, which is defined as the analysis of the variance, this is what happens when we get into a situation where our research design has 3 or more sample means. So a lot of people ask me, Dr. Bruno, why can't I just do a bunch of t-tests? That's what I'm comfortable with and that's what I know. And we'll get into a little bit about why that's really important. But an ANOVA has the added benefit of maintaining our statistical power while at the same time ensuring that we're capable of performing all of those analyses simultaneously. But the real difference, and the thing that I think you need to be most familiar with, is that an ANOVA, and all of the ANOVA procedures we'll cover in these lecture videos, is just an extension of what we learned in Lecture 4 with the t-tests. We'll first start by talking about what ANOVA is and what kind of ANOVA designs we have. We'll then get into the independent groups one-way analysis of the variance, followed by getting into what happens when we take it into a one-way repeated measures analysis of the variance, something similar to the paired sample t-test, but with 3 or more sample means. We'll then talk about factorial designs and how that sort of mixes and changes the dynamics of what we know for ANOVA. And then finally, we'll conclude with some non-parametric friends when the assumptions are violated. So if you're ready to get started, let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, first things first. When we talk about the word ANOVA, we need to make sure that we're aware that what it means is an analysis of the variance. And so this acronym and this abbreviation that we'll call ANOVA, the beautiful thing about it is it allows us to be able to quantitatively compare 3 or more sample means. Whereas when we were doing this with the t-test, we were confined to only doing it with 2 sample means. So ANOVA is very powerful in that we can have 3 groups, we can have 200 groups. It still works exactly the same, which is why it's such an important statistical procedure for a lot of researchers that are applying their methods. So a couple of things that people generally ask is, well, Dr. Bruno, why can't I just do a bunch of t-tests? Well, remember, every single time that we run a t-test, whether it be the independent samples t-test or the paired sample t-test or the one sample t-test, the problem still remains that when we conduct those statistical procedures, we're still doing it at the 0.05 alpha level. But that's for one test. If we start performing a bunch of t-tests, let's say 4 of them, we're not having our error rate maintained at 5%. Instead, it would be 5% times 4 tests. So that would actually increase our error rate, likelihood of making a type 1 error, to 20%, a 1 in 5 chance that the data we collected for our research study is not actually reflective of what is going to be seen in the real world. So ANOVA really has an important component in that it allows us to do what we would want to do with multiple t-tests, but instead it does it with one test and protects that alpha level at p less than 0.05. We call this protecting the family-wise error rate. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about ANOVA designs. So when we talk about ANOVA designs, I want you to remember that we can either have an independent groups ANOVA, we can have a repeated measures ANOVA, or we can have something that's known as a mixed factorial ANOVA. And so the real question about whether we're having a one-way independent groups ANOVA, a one-way repeated measures ANOVA, or a mixed or just a general factorial ANOVA really depends on how many independent grouping variables that we have. If I only have one independent variable, then it's appropriate for me to declare that I have a one-way independent groups or a one-way repeated measures ANOVA. So the first thing is being able to be presented with a research scenario and understanding how many independent variables do I have. And once I know that information, I'll know if I want to go the one-way route or if I need to do something that is more factorial in nature. And so once I understand, is this a one-way or is this a factorial ANOVA, I then need to think about, is my independent variable an independent group's independent variable, such that the levels that occupy the independent variable, a person who is recruited and enrolled in the study can only belong to one of the possible levels in the independent variable. And moreover, we assume that the people that are assigned to one group are not the same people in the other groups that we're trying to compare. And so if we have one independent variable and the people are only tested under one of the three or more possible levels for that independent variable, then a one-way independent groups analysis of the variance is the appropriate statistical procedure in that situation. On the other hand, if the independent variable is more in line with what we saw with the paired sample t-test, where we're looking at pre-post designs or maybe pre-intervention, mid-intervention, and post-intervention as an example, well, then we need to say, well, this is a repeated measures independent variable. This isn't a grouping variable where it's this group, or this group. Everybody in the study is getting assessed over multiple time points or multiple conditions. And so when we have a group of participants and the participants are tested 3 or more times, we can generate means and standard deviations around those times. And we could determine if there are statistically significant difference between time point 1 and time point 2, time point 1 and time point 3, or time point 2 and time point 3. So it's very powerful in that way. So if we recognize that our independent variable is more repeated measures in nature, well, then we would have to say a one-way, one independent variable, repeated measures analysis of the variance is the more appropriate tool in that setting. Okay, so here's a nice schematic that sort of walks us through this process. As you can see, how many independent variables do I have? That should be the first question when I give you this as an example in our assignments or on an exam. How many independent variables do I have, and how many of them are independent groups? How many of them, if any, are repeated measures? And is there some combination of both independent groups or repeated measures? And so, in the case where we have one independent variable that is an independent groups variable, meaning treatment 1, treatment 2, or treatment 3, then a one-way independent groups ANOVA would be the statistical procedure that we would want to move forward with in that kind of analysis. If the nature of the independent variable, however, was repeated measures, and it was my only independent variable available to me, well, then I would want a one-way repeated measures ANOVA if it was a time series or some type of difference that we were exploring with different conditions. However, if I have 2 or more independent variables, well, then I can not only have both independent variables be independent groups variables, I can have both independent variables be repeated measures variables, or I can have a combination where one is an independent groups independent variable and another is a repeated measures independent variable. The bottom line is any time that we have 2 or more independent variables in our ANOVA designs, we use the term factorial in order to articulate it. So remember, if we have 2 independent variables and both are from independent groups, that would be a 2-way factorial independent groups ANOVA. If we had 2 independent variables and both were repeated measures, then we would call that a 2-way factorial repeated measures ANOVA. And if we had 2 independent variables and one was an independent groups independent variable and the other was a repeated measures independent variable, well, in that case, we would say that it is a mixed factorial ANOVA. So I hope that's helpful. The other thing to think about when it comes to ANOVA designs is that anytime we have a factorial ANOVA, which we've just defined as having 2 or more independent variables, the way that we articulate them is on the basis of how many levels or groups or time points that independent variable has. So for example, if I had a factorial ANOVA where I had one independent variable with three possible groups. So let's call it a low dose, a moderate dose, and a high dose of a given drug. Well, that is three possible groups. Three means can be generated from those groups, and the people in each group are not tied or the same people in other groups. At the same token, I can also explore these on the basis of age. And age is one of those variables where it is a scale level of measurement because it falls along the number line. But sometimes researchers will categorize people into older versus younger ages. And so let's say that anybody younger than 45 years of age was considered younger, and anybody over than 45 was considered older. Well, in that particular case, you would have two possible groups. And so the two would be reflected as one, you're younger, or two, you're older. So you have two levels that represent the age independent variable, which in this context would be used as an independent groups variable. So I hope that's helpful. But the big thing to think about is that what ANOVA designs really do for us is they allow all the benefits of the t-tests, but they are much more inclusive and expansive because it allows for three or more sample means to be integrated into one larger analysis while protecting the family-wise error rate at p less than 0.05. So I hope this video was helpful. In the next video, we're going to dig in to the one-way independent groups ANOVA. We'll see you there.